All right, the Raiders get the news nobody wanted to hear. But don't worry, I'll give you maybe good news. But recently, there was a picture. There was a picture taken, and this picture was taken at Kyle Van Noy's charity golf challenge. This was yesterday. And there's a player of yours. Let's see if you recognize him. Many of you will recognize the man in the middle as Christian Wilkins. And you will also recognize that there is something on his foot. It kind of stinks for players because they want to live their life. They want to support their friends. They want to do these things, help with charity and all those types of things. But they're hurt. And anytime they go out in public, everybody's like, oh, see, he's hurt. He's hurt. So in this video, I want to talk to you about what is the likelihood and the chances. Now, remember, I'm not a doctor, but what are the chances that he misses the 2025 season? But I'm also going to talk to you about a trade that's being rumored out there that I was completely shocked by. So we're gonna get into that as well. So let's go ahead. Let's take a look at that. And let's see kind of what we have. So here's what we know. But before I get into that, if you are new to this channel, my name's Craig. Me and my buddy Chris started this. Oh, it's got to be 3 years ago now. We're Detroit Lions fans, but we just love talking NFL football. So we wanted to talk about the teams that we felt like the national media kind of ignored. And honestly, there was just a high level of intrigue for us for the Raiders. Just a very interesting franchise that goes way back, even with the Bad Boys Pistons. Yeah, if you know, you know. All right, so anyways, here's what we know. Here's what we know about Christian Wilkins. He's still in a walking boot. All right, I just showed you the picture. This is from, it's the same foot. This can confirm it's the same foot as it was in week 5 that he injured in 2024. All right. We know that Pete Carroll earlier described his rehab as a long, challenging process. All right. He added that Wilkins was not ready to get back out during OTAs. Never really expected him to. There are multiple reports that suggest the possibility of another surgery. So now we have all of these things that are going there. If he gets another surgery, that would all but rule him out for 2025. So here's what you need to know about the Jones fracture, or whatever you want to call it. All right, to the Jones fractures. The Raiders medical staff and the beat writers initially hoped he'd be practicing by August. In other words, they'd hoped he'd be back and practicing for training camp. All right, but ongoing setbacks and the potential refracture setback have absolutely delayed that. There is no definitive timeline. Doctors often caution complete healing from a Jones fracture, especially from other complications like re-breaking it. They say this can take 9 to 12 months. It is almost a 1-year injury, and the refracture risk on this specific injury is somewhere between 10 and 30%. Pretty high. So what is the likelihood out here? Don't worry, we'll get to better stuff too. All right, it's very probable he starts the year on the PUP, on the physically unable to perform list, based on his current status, and there is a real risk of missing the start of the season. And if indeed he did re-break it, and he either had another surgery that we don't know about, or he needs to get another surgery, it would likely sideline him for the rest of the year. Okay? So let's look at what you have as far as interior defensive linemen, and be careful because it's going to hurt a little bit, right? You have Jonah, who played last year, almost 500 snaps, did so with very, very modest. It was not good. It wasn't great. I'm sorry. It wasn't great for Zach Carter. It wasn't great. Even for Christian Wilkins, when he played well. Like that was fine. Adam Butler played moderately okay. There's nobody on here that played last year that you would say, all right, we're good to go. Now, good news. All right, the good news is you drafted Tonka Hemingway. The good news is that you drafted JJ. So there is some draft capital. That's a 4th and a 6th round selection there. So it's there. The other good news is I'm sure that there's some free agent people you can get, but at this point you're not getting a star unless you're trading for it. And I don't know that you necessarily need a star, but you do need people that will be able to wreak a little bit of havoc in there. So you're going to have the size. You got some big boys, right? Leaky Fotu is a big boy, all right? But he did not play much or well last year. JJ is a big boy. You got Anthony Booker Jr., UDFA. He weighs 350 pounds out of SMU. Man, he makes that jersey look small. So there are other players that you can have. But I want to get into some good news too, and I might end up doing a whole other video on this if this picks up any steam at all. But in a recent article on foxsports.com, they talked about perfect fits for all players who are holding out. All right. Now, he started with this saying, to be clear, he is extremely confident. He is extremely confident that McLaurin will stay with the Commanders. However, how cool would that be? Like, that's all I have to say for it. All right? He's been loyal to franchise. Even when times weren't so good, he's done nothing but produce, even when he didn't have a star quarterback. He's even held out before. He used this strategy to secure his contract extension back in 2022. I don't think Washington would let him walk when it finally has a chance to contend. However, he goes, but if I'm dreaming up a perfect landing spot for McLaurin, Vegas really sounds fun. Talk about a big swing for a team that hasn't had a lot to get excited about. The Raiders are already in decent shape for Geno Smith's first season. Brock Bowers is a star. Ashton Genty should be one soon. Jacoby Myers is a solid receiver, but Vegas still needs to upgrade its receiver room. Rather than take your chances in the draft, why not ship a pick or two to Washington and lock in McLaurin for the rest of his prime? Make fun of me if you want, but a Raiders skill group of McLaurin, Bowers, Genty, and Myers might be the best in the AFC West. I mean, that's exciting, isn't it? Like, you got to know. You got to know that's exciting. If you're wondering what kind of a player McLaurin is, I was looking up his stats. Here's the thing about McLaurin. He has never been targeted more than 134 times in a season. All right? And he's only been targeted more than 130 times 3 times. In 2019 to 2024, he's been targeted 93, 134, 130, 120, 132, and 117 last year. Only 117. The only year he didn't go over 1,000 yards was his rookie year, where he only had 93 targets and he had 58 catches for 919 yards. In the following years after that, it's 1,100 yards, it's 1,000 yards, it's 1,200 yards, it's 1,000 yards, it's 1,100 yards. Last year, he upped his touchdown production to 13. Average yards per reception have never been under 13, except in 2023. All right, and then this is a new PFF stat, which I love, which is passer rating when targeted. Last year was 135.3. Just a ridiculous passer rating when targeted. He is an absolute baller. All right? Absolute baller when you're looking at this stuff. So we get all this. It's looking good. How would you love to see Terry McLaurin as a Raider? He has a $25 million price tag, and you'd have to lock him up for another 3 years probably in the 30s. Probably mid-30s, all right? So is it worth it to you to get that premier-type receiver as he's entering into his age 30 season? That's the only question I have for you. You want it? And what is your level of concern on Mr. Wilkins? Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. We'll see you on the next one.